everyone, welcome to Wool and Spinning. My name is Rachel and I can be found pretty much everywhere as well for pearls. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Saturday, January 30th of 2021. I hope you guys are well. Mike and I were chatting this morning and I kind of lost track of time, so I'm really sorry. We are trying to figure out what we're going to do with our house and how we're going to organize things. So I really appreciate you guys being patient with me, because all of a sudden I looked at my watch and I was like, oh. So thank you. Oh, thank you, Chris. That's very kind. No, I haven't finished it. I'm wearing it because we're going to talk about it. And I didn't want to have it on my dress form behind me because I thought it was kind of fun to put it on and actually show you guys a work in progress and what I think about when I'm actually in progress. So it's not done yet. So just bear with me. How are you guys doing? How was your week? I didn't have a great sleep last night, so I am sort of running on coffee and fumes a little bit. But we're going to have a really quiet day and we're not going to do a whole heck of a lot. You know what I'm going to do? I'll let you guys guess. What am I going to do today? And no, I'm not going to sit and just spin. There's something else that I need to do. So yeah, welcome to new viewers of the show. Welcome to returning viewers. Thank you so much for being here. Please, if you don't mind taking a moment to hit the subscribe button, I appreciate that. And then if you turn on notifications, any videos that come up that are public, you will get notified. The live stream happens every Saturday morning with patrons of the community, and I want to welcome especially all of the new patrons that have joined in the last couple of months. You guys are very welcome here, and I hope that you find a place within our community. The show goes public on Tuesday afternoons at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so if you're looking for something to watch, after work on Tuesday or Tuesday evening or Wednesday, that's when the show comes up. Last week was a bit of an oddball week. We released the show immediately after the live stream because we have breed and color studies coming up on the Monday morning to order, and I just wanted everybody to know what was happening. So yes, coffee and fumes. Kelly, every day of my life. There is so much going on in our community that I have started writing a separate blog post that comes out halfway through each month to sort of talk about everything that's going on and everything that's happening. So that those posts on Patreon and on the blog wellforpearls.com are they're called housekeeping. So it'll be housekeeping January 2021, housekeeping February 2021. And it just has everything that we're doing and everything that's going on and all the links. It's just a way to clean up the episode notes every single week because stuff doesn't really change week to week. It kind of more changes like month to month. We did choose our next book for book club. So we are doing, and actually if Becca is in the chat, I don't see her. But if she's around or if anybody who's in book club could chime in, we've got 2 books going. Our book club, our general book club, we are doing North and South. I actually just started reading it about 6 or 7 chapters into it. I'm really enjoying it. It's something I haven't read before, so I'm really enjoying that. And then the other book that we're doing for our anti-racist book club is Empire of Cotton. So we wanted to look at textiles and racism in the textiles industry, and so somebody had suggested that, so that's what we're doing. So we're doing the first 8 chapters of North and South. Thank you, Becca. I rely on you so much for this stuff. I really appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. So yeah, North and South is our book that we're doing right now, and then Empire of Cotton is our anti-racist book that we are focusing on. So yeah. Dorothy, yeah, we all know what it's like to run on fumes. It's so true. I've gotten kind of used to not running on fumes. So this not having a good sleep last night was kind of weird. Mike and I had Earl Grey last night right at bedtime, and I think that was what it was. I don't usually have caffeine that late in the night, and I usually am not affected by tea particularly, but I think it just like kind of rang me up. So before we run the credits for the entry, I'm going to change. So I thought that I would talk about the poet before we do the entry, the intro credits, and chat about the poet. So somebody had said last week when I had mentioned that I didn't really have anything that I was really working on right now, they said, oh, what about the poet sweater? And I can't remember who said it, but I had sort of put it away because like it's the winter and I'm probably not going to wear it until sort of more into the summer, although sitting here it's very warm. And the lace pattern, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And for those who don't know this pattern, this is a Sari Norland pattern, and it's called Poet. It was originally published in, was it Lane magazine, you guys? I can't remember actually. And she has since self-published it, and it's like, you know, she's able to do that now. So I had started this sweater back in, I'm actually going to look it up because Mike was asking me last night. And I told him that it was back in August, but I think it was before that. I started it back in July. So I cast it on in July of 2020, and I didn't get very far, and I just didn't have a chance to really sit down and really get into the lace and really kind of immerse myself in it and really get going. So I think I sat with this much done for a huge amount of time. And then on our trip, when we went up north this in August, I really got a whole bunch done. I got it separated and I got down a little bit on the body. And then it sat again for several months. And then I picked it up before Christmas and got down about, I think I'm about 5 inches into the body at the moment. I think I'm about 5 inches. I know I still have quite a ways to go, like a really far ways. So what I decided to do is take a break, wind the second skein because I needed to anyways. Let's see how far I am. Oh, I'm 6 inches. Haha. So I had to wind the second skein of yarn anyways. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a break, and instead of continuing on and finishing up the first skein of yarn, I'm going to just put this on hold, stick it into the body of the sweater and kind of forget about it. And I'm going to go back and do the neckband. So I've done the neck. So you pick up all the way around and knit for 1 inch. And you can see that because of the lace, you can see how it sort of, you know, has that nice wave to it because the lace is not perfectly straight. It has a wave to it because of the increases and decreases and all of the yarn overs. I think it's really pretty. I really like it. If I were to start this again and reknit it, and you know, if it was, you know, July 23rd and I had just cast it on yesterday, I think that I would actually knit the one size bigger because this is a little bit close fitting for what I wanted, but I also haven't washed and blocked it yet, so it will stretch out and it will sort of grow a little bit. This is Swan's Island. It was from my stash. It's fingering weight. It's merino, and it was a naturally colored. I don't think I have one of one of the bands here actually. I think they're in another, I think I've put them somewhere else. Anyhow, it's Swan's Island, and it's in the Goldfinch colorway. The name of the cotton book is Empire of Cotton. So this is where I'm at now. So I just put on a tank top underneath so that you guys could really see. This is the lace at the back. So you can see how it's like all over. It's just everywhere and it's so intense to do. So I took a break and I did the sleeves instead. So what ended up happening with the sleeves, they're a little, they fit. There is some ease, and they're not skin tight, but I followed the instructions on the pattern and I followed it per the instructions. And you're supposed to do 6 inches of ribbing so that you fold it back. And as soon as I cast them off and I saw that and I tried it on and did that, I was like, yeah, no. So the other thing was that because of the decreases under the arm, it really was skin tight and the stitches were pulling quite a lot. Like right now, the fabric's just laying nicely on my skin. It's not pulling, it's not stretching, but it was pulling like that. And I knew that it would bug me. I would be constantly pulling at it when I was wearing it. And this is going to pill anyways because it's merino. It's already pilling. So from being in my knitting bag and just rubbing. So what I did was I didn't pull that sleeve out. Instead, I knit the other one the way I thought that I needed to knit it. So basically no decreases down the other arm. And I did 2 inches of ribbing at the bottom to make 3/4 length sleeves because I have enough yarn. So I don't have to worry about like, I didn't want full sleeves because that's not the look of the sweater. It's meant to be a tee. It's meant to be sort of for the summer. It's meant to be for the spring, like for those days where you need something, but you don't need a sweater. So what I ended up doing was ripping the other one out, which is why there's this mark here that it'll block out. But I had them on, when I ripped it back, I had put something in there and then I re-knit that sleeve to match so that now they match. So I finished that last night. So part of the fit issues with this is that I've gained weight since July, which is a really good thing. And so the now I probably wouldn't have cast on, I think the sizing, let me just pull it up really quickly because I just want to go through the sizing really quickly. And great question, Zan, how much will it relax in blocking? So my swatch compared to this, it should relax about 1 inch to 2 inches through the body. Like it should. The problem is that it's superwash merino, so it's kind of gonna have this. It's going to kind of. It's elastic, so it's going to go back, so that it's not going to hold its block indefinitely, but it will relax. So the sizing is a bust circumference of 33.5. 36.5 all the way up to 53.5. So my full bust is 34. My upper bust though is 31, 32. So I had chosen the 33.5, but if I were to do this again, I would actually choose the 36. On the model, it says that it's shown with 2 inches of positive ease. I think it's probably more like 4 to 6 inches on her, just based on how it's fitting me and how it's fitting her. So this is basically with 0 ease. And if I were to do it again, I think just because I like my stuff a little bit baggier, I would knit it a little bit bigger. However, that said, I have quite a lot of yarn left from that second skein from doing the sleeves. This sweater has not been, it's a lot of knitting, but it doesn't take a lot of yarn. Like it's really, this is only 1.5 balls thus far. I've got all of this left. And this is like 3/4 probably, or just over half of the second skein. But it's fingering weight, right? So it doesn't look like a lot, but it's actually a huge amount. So I'm going to knit until I like the length. I'm going to, keep knitting, keep trying it on until I'm happy with the length, because ideally I would like it to come down to here, which is right at my hip bone. And I might even do a split hem, so that the ribbing on the front is split from the back, and do like, a 3-inch hem or something. So I have lots and lots of yarn left. I have the complete freedom to sort of make it as long as I would like, and that's really nice. So I wanted to talk, we, as a community, I'm not sure if Charlotte is here today. I don't see her in the chat. It's very difficult to keep up with chat because you guys there's so many of you, and you guys are so chit-chatty with each other, which is wonderful. But I don't see Charlotte in the chat. She's Carlotta. And Diane is not here today. So we need to send up prayers for Diane's husband. For those of you who are part of the community, you know who Diane is. She was on Wool and Spinning Radio a few months ago. She's a very warm, kind, generous personality. So is Charlotte. So I don't know how Diane is doing. Charlotte's been kind of keeping us updated, but I know that she's probably at her husband's, with her husband. So lots of prayers for Dawn and Diane, and for the Barrows family. So Charlotte had sent me this. She sent me 2. They're called Try It On tubing. I had no idea what she was talking about when she sent it to me. And I was just trusting that she knew what she was talking about. And Charlotte is so kind and wonderful and warm. And basically what you do is you stick the end of it, the tubing, onto your knitting needle. So let me just grab this. So you stick it onto the end of your knitting needle. and then you pull it through and you can try on your stuff. So that's what I did this morning. I was like, I'm going to try this. This seems really cool. And bless her heart, Charlotte sent us 2. So next month for February, I will give the other one away to you guys. That'll be the giveaway for February. So thank you to Charlotte. And we're thinking about you, Diane, because you're not here today and you're not watching, but you will be. And the tubing is awesome because it means I can try it on, no problem. So how cool is that? Yeah. Oh, good, Mars. Thank you so much for giving us an update. So in the live chat, that people are just sharing about the updates. So that's wonderful. Awesome. The thing is with the trying it on stuff is like, you know, many of us who are garment knitters, we try stuff on all the time, or we've got, you know, dress forms. It's on this side, dress forms that we're trying stuff on. And so you want to be able to pull it through relatively quickly. And actually I was thinking, because the tubing is so long, if you got 2 packages, you could actually take your second package and fold it in half and cut it. And that would be your sleeve holders. You know, and you could even, I mean, if you really wanted to get quite creative, you could get, you know, 2 or 3 packs and you could cut it in half and you have your stitch holders for your sleeves. But then you could also, you know, like with contiguous construction, you have to put stuff on hold. You know, you could take your third set and cut it into thirds or even cut it into quarters. And then you'd have all of those tubes to put through. I don't know what happened. To put through uh to put through for contiguous construction. So the that would be really interesting to sort of see how that goes. I'm gonna run the yeah, phew. I'm gonna run the credits. I'm gonna make sure that the camera is plugged in so that the battery is working properly, and I'm gonna change. So the credits might run a little bit longer than usual, but if you could just bear with me so that I can get all sorted, that would be awesome. And I will see you guys on the other side. Hi everyone. Oh, I'm all changed. So Mike is, oh, thanks, Diana. Cool as a cucumber. You're a pro. I appreciate it. Thank you. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Tessa or somebody else. Maybe it was Barb who said about the technology gremlins. Like there's always stuff that happens. Like when there's technology, there's going to be stuff. So we've, over the years, you guys know, we've had so much wardrobe. Becca, you're so funny. Wardrobe changes. The show is getting more and more elaborate. um, I think what happened was I was doing some filming last night and I didn't, when I went to reconnect, I don't think I put the charger back in fully. So then the camera's actually dead. So it has to be plugged in when we're live streaming. The battery's just not, these batteries are not big enough. So, what are we talking about next? So we talked about the poet. Let's talk about some spinning. How about that? I have been working, I feel like I would love to hear from you guys what you think. So I have really found this fall that there hasn't been anything. I think that's why I picked up my poet again, because like I mentioned earlier in the show, somebody had said about, where did your poet go? Like, are you not working on your poet? And I was like, oh, I'll work on it in the spring. But I kind of went back to it and pulled it out because I sort of feel like I don't have anything right now to really sink my teeth into. I was saying this to Mike last night. There isn't anything that I'm working on that I really feel like I can really like sink my teeth into, and that I'm quite a monogamous maker, which I know sounds funny. I've always got stuff that is going on in the background, but I actually am quite monogamous about what I work on. I like to have one project that I'm really focused on. And my little love, and I think I left the bag somewhere else, and I'm not sure that I can reach it. I'm really torn about maybe ripping it out. I'll post a photo on the Slack channels later. I absolutely love the pattern, and like Anka's trick, her patterns are amazing. Like Anka is just awesome. The problem is that the stitch definition against the CVM mohair is just not great, and you're going to all that effort of putting in all of that, patterning. And so I think that's why I'm a bit stalled on it. I just don't know if it's worth it to keep going on it or to just pull it out and kind of just put that yarn aside for a bit and sink my teeth into something else. So I would love to hear what you guys think, and I'll post a photo later. So in the meantime, I have been swatching with my Disdero Ranch, this Romney that I have. This is that big massive bat that I showed you guys last time. So the yarn is dry, and I skeined it up, and it's not a huge skein, but it's a really nice amount for knitting and doing samples. So what I ended up doing, I've got a bug on my stuff. Go away, buddy. Go fly away. Go. So what I did was I knit this swatch. Let me just move a bit closer so that I can reach. This is some broken rib. So I'll hold it up here so that you can see it. And I have to hold it properly. So this bottom part here is 4mm needles. And it's funny because Greta is in the chat today, and her and I literally yesterday were having this conversation about how these long wools, you see how they're curly Q, right? And so they never really lay completely flat in the stitches. So they always kind of have that curly Q look, because when you think about the long wools, they've got that curly crimp structure. So they're always fighting against being bent. And unlike the fine wools that are really good at holding their elasticity, they like to lay next to each other. They want to be bouncy and springy. And I'll go back to your question in just a sec, Eve. So part of the thing is that, it on the 4mm, I feel like even after washing and blocking, you can really see how you get that texture in those stitches from the long wools. And then in the broken rib, again, you've sort of got like your knit stitches just kind of go sideways a little bit every so often. It's not biased per se. It's just that curly Q crimp that you get, right, when you knit with these yarns. And then this is 3.75mm needles up here, and it's a little bit better. But like the overall fabric from a distance is really pleasing. It has a really nice look to it. And this was a 3-ply, but it's kind of left me wondering what this would look like in a lace pattern, like a lace pattern on a garment, where it would wash and block out, because the Romney would hold its block really nicely. So yeah, that was my swatch. So I haven't shown it to my mom yet, because the plan was for this to be a gentle morning, but you really lose a lot of the texturing. Like you guys can see how gray that looks. Like you really can't see the texturing. Whereas in my gentle morning, I did it in Cheviot. You really can see all that texturing, and you've got that lovely cable definition. It's not cables, but they're broken rib. And so I wonder about maybe using this yarn for something else, because it would be perfect for a fennel, which is a pattern by Orlaine Souche. This yarn would just be perfect. And I think I would actually dye it if I were to make that. I brought out my field guide. I don't know if you guys have seen this little book. It's just small. It's the size of my head. The Field Guide to Fleece. It's by Deb Robeson and Carol Ecaris. It was a spin-off book for people who either had the Fleece and Fiber source book or didn't want to buy the Fleece and Fiber source book, either because it was like too big or they just didn't want to spend the money. But it's a great book because it's just page by page of all of the fleeces. So if you don't want to commit to buying the Fleece and Fiber source book, which is massive, you can get this little bitty. So the Romney locks, that's what they look like. So you can see that curly Q crimp in there, and they have a little bit of like slightly more defined crimp, but there's that blocky nature to the back end of the lock, but then it comes up into that point, just like we would expect in the long wools. They have that triangular shape, and that curly Q, wavy crimp creates that texture that we see in the knitted fabric, and of course the halo in the yarn of all those tips popping through. When people say wool is itchy, wool is scratchy, I don't like it, I'm allergic to it, it's those tips. And Deb Robeson actually talks about just cut them off, just trim them off. And if you cut that little bit off, they won't be itchy or scratchy, you won't have an allergy anymore. Isn't that cool? So that's what Romney locks look like for those who are new to spinning and don't know. And actually those are Romney sheep, aren't they cute? Best uses for coarser Romneys, great for outerwear, rugs, mats, and other durable items. Finer fleeces work well for sweaters, shawls, and even some garments worn next to the skin. While the finer Romney fleeces may not felt well, the coarser ones definitely will. So there you have it. Let me just go back to, we see the ribbing well. Oh, that's good to know, Laureline, that you guys can see that. Not bad. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Laureline, for offering. If anyone in Canada wants to try it on tubing, send me a message on Slack and I'll order a few packs. Shipping to Canada is more than the tubes, and it'll fit in the letter mail once it's within Canada. Thank you, Laureline. If you could add me to that list, I just want one more because I want to cut it up. That would be fantastic. You mentioned with Poet that it's a bit tighter due to weight gain. Have you ever had to rip out a languishing garment due to it not fitting anymore? I have, actually. Not recently, though. And it's funny because, because of just the past year that we've all had, if I was in progress in terms of knitting my simple something, like if it was still in progress, I would rip that out and reknit it, because it's just too tight, it's too small, and because I have gained weight, it's just like I can't wear it. So I have thought about ripping it out actually and skeins up the yarn so that, because that sweater you hold the yarn double, and I've actually thought about skeining it, like winding it into balls, and then knitting from the balls with the yarn already together. Yeah, so what else? I'm just looking at the, yes. Rebecca wrote a great blog post about long wools. They'll always push back against being bent. Exactly. Yeah. If you can find that, Becca, not right now, but at some point, that would be great. They're great for drape, but not texture. Absolutely, Megan. The thing actually that I was thinking with the Romney that would work really well for my mom is that this yarn is it's certainly next to the skin soft. Absolutely. But it's the right color. She kind of wants something that's like a bit oatmeal-y. And I have some Finn in my stash that I thought would work, but based on what she wants, it might be a bit too dark. So I'm kind of stuck. I love over-dyed gray, Chris. Oh, totally. Absolutely. I don't want to miss any. You guys are moving so fast. If you already have the Fleece and Fiber source book, is there any further information in this little book? No. This, if anything, is like Cole's notes. So as you saw with the Romney, it just gives you the quick and dirty. So it doesn't give you the history. It doesn't give you anything that you wouldn't have already in the Fleece and Fiber source book. It's just a one-page catch-all. This is a little bit about the breed, how you might want to spin it, how you might want to prepare it, where it comes from, and then how it takes the dye, the best uses. Every single page is exactly the same. And then it gives you all of the stats that you want. It gives you some information about the lock length. You can see the locks. So one of the things that I find really helpful is because they put that ruler there, you can count your crimps and you can kind of get a general idea of how many crimps per inch these fibers have. So like Romney, for example, looks like it probably has about 4 crimps per inch on average. Obviously, there's going to be some that are more and some that are less, depending on the fineness, a lamb's fleece, etc. But it kind of gives you an idea. So then you're thinking, okay, you've got a long wool, relatively long stapled. I'm sure there's, you're sort of thinking in your mind, there's probably some that are longer and some that are shorter. So, you're sort of thinking about like 4 to 4.5 inches in terms of staple length. 4 crimps per inch. You're sort of thinking like, a larger pulley, smaller ratio, lower twist. It won't need a huge amount of twist to hold it together because it's longer stapled. And you're thinking about enhancing drape and sheen, so you don't want a really super highly twisted ropey yarn. So that's what I use this book for. It's kind of like, I keep it in my basket next to my spinning wheel, and it just gives me like a quick and dirty, okay, these are the things that I'm thinking about. What am I spinning for? What am I making? It's not a need to have by any stretch, but it's been really helpful, and it's only $15 US. Like, it's not an expensive book. So just a thought. So that's my Romney. Now I have a dodo bird to share with you guys. I finished my Falkland. This is from West Coast Color. This is sport weight. I have not washed and finished it yet. It is plied, as you can see, 2-ply sport weight. I have no stats on it yet because I was spinning it and I was plying it and I was like, this just doesn't seem like a lot of yarn compared to the blue skein because there's the same amount of fiber. Just, I spun it the same and it just doesn't seem right. And I just don't really know why this doesn't seem like there's enough. Because I only spun half of it. Duh. I had to spin the whole other bobbin. I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. So here's the other half. So what I'm going to do is I've split these in half. This will be a bobbin. This will be a bobbin. I'll ply those. And then this needs to be tightened up just a tiny bit in a few places. There's a couple of places where it's just a little bit underplied. And so I'll throw this back through and tighten it up a little bit. Oh, thank you, Jenny, for saying that, because that makes me feel so much better that you just did that too. And then I'll wash and finish it. So at least I have this done. If by some like amazing something I end up needing it for my shifty and I get to that color, which I haven't worked on it, so I probably won't. At least I have this skein done and I can wash and finish it really quickly after applying it a little bit. But yeah, just a bit of a dodo bird moment. I couldn't believe I did that. I saw it sitting there and I just thought, oh my goodness, of course. The color is beautiful. And actually, I have to say, I know Megan and Kelly, you guys love this color. This is actually like, this is pretty bang on. This is exactly what the color looks like. It's pretty accurate. So I think it'll go well with the shifty sweater that I'm making with the other 3 colors. And I think overall it'll work quite well. I started a spindling project, and the reason why I started a spindling project was actually mostly because I really wanted something to work on, and I just was really taken with the Scotland when it showed up. This is Spunky Eclectic Club, so this is half of the Gotland, and I'll just lay it out a little bit so that you guys can see it, because this is just a beautiful colorway. Amy really did a good job on this one. And of course, dyeing over the Gotland felts really super easily. And we did Gotland as our breed study a few years ago. And Amy's, what's that word? Her inspiration was her thread box, her sewing box. So I just couldn't get this out of my mind, because you're dyeing over that gorgeous silver gray Gotland. And Gotland is is it considered a primitive? It's, I have it right here for you guys. It's from Sweden. Does it actually say that in here? Swedish breed that was developed in the early 20th century. So sorry, no, it's not. But it is sometimes confused with the ancient Goth Goot or Gutivar breed, its ancestor. So this is what they look like. Oh, sorry, I forgot this camera's on. Really fun. They're always this silvery gray color and black. It's very unusual to see white Gotland. It can be quite difficult to spin because the thing is that you've got these gorgeous, so this is my other half of my first half. So this is this will be my second singles. I'm doing a 2-ply. And I decided to throw it onto, sorry for the crinkling. I decided to throw it onto my spindles. I just really wanted something slow and something that was a little bit different. So you can see how long these staples are. So check this out. Love overdyed Gotland. Favorite fiber, says Dana. Is the Anfield's books out of print? I don't think so. They have they've got second publishing. What are they called? Beyond Wool and Spinning Wool. So the first one is Spinning Wool and the second one is Beyond Wool. I'm pretty sure they're both still available. That's the length of the staple, like very, very, very long. It's probably about 7 inches, maybe 8. So I did load the fiber onto my distaff mostly just to keep it organized. And what I've been doing, let me switch my cameras around so I can show you guys. The thing with the long staple like that is it's very easy to overspin and to put too much twist into the Gotland. So when I was spinning this for our breed study back when we did it, and we did Gotland alongside BFL for the contrast. It was Rebecca, who suggested that. I really overspun my Gotland, and I did it as a spindle spin as well. I love spinning Gotland on the spindles. It just really works for me. But you can make rope very easily, and I see Laureline says that. So what I've been doing is I have been putting my distaff into my pocket and then letting off some of the fiber. And I've been trying to stick to just a really, not too thin. I don't want it obviously too thick, but just really, really nice, where, I've got a nice twist. It feels nice. I don't want to rough it up really a lot. So I haven't been running my fingers up and down the yarn to really feel it a ton like I normally do. And then I've just been sort of walking around like this and just spinning away. And I'll show you guys in just a sec. I could do this all day. Could we just stay here all day and just do this? So this is a Turtle Made spindle. The nice thing about the distaff and having the distaff in my pocket here is that I don't need to wear a wrist distaff. And it just kind of sticks here. And the other thing that I have found works really well is sticking it here. So that has been working really well as well. And then I can kind of walk around like this. I really like this as well. So this has worked really good, really, really well as well. And I've been enjoying trying it that way as well. I've just been trying lots and lots of different ways of doing it. And then what I have been spinning, so let me put it back to the product mode. Just give me one sec. Active singles sometimes, like they're so beautiful and they're just so much fun to play with, but then other times I'm like, oh, they're so frustrating. So I have been spinning to be about so let me just turn my cameras around. So this is kind of what I've been spinning to. So I've been sort of roughly around 22-ish wraps per inch, roughly. Some parts of it are more like 20 and some are more like 24, but roughly 22 wraps per inch. So I'm going for a 2-ply, and that's really kind of making quite a lovely yarn, to be honest. Like that, just that gorgeous, lovely twist angle. It's going to have a little bit of drape to it, and that's sort of resulting in about a 14 wraps per inch yarn. And the nice thing about that is that that would be perfect for the colorwork section of a low-piece style colorwork sweater. So I have in my stash a whole bunch of gray Gotland undyed, and that will be the body of the sweater, and this will be the colorwork section. So that's my plan. I'm looking at some of the Jennifer Steinglass patterns, and it'll just depend on my yardage of what I have in the end, which pattern would work or not. Thinking a pullover, this will be the colorwork section, and then the gray would be the rest. So my goal this year, I'm going to update my Make 9 for 2021. One of the things that I would like to do is a sweater spindles, basically a sweater quantity of yarn on my spindles for a sweater. What's that called? I use wrist staffs all the time. Eve, that's normally what I use. I normally don't spin off a distaff on my spindles, which is kind of silly, but I don't spindle spin that much. So that's why I started to play with this. So my friend Kim gave this one to me as a gift, and I really like it. So I've been playing with it. Yeah, the Turtle Made spindles are amazing. We had a little one that Jen a couple years ago, Jen sent me to give away on the show. I was sad to see it go. Here's my question on disc staves. Does any piece of wood work like doweling, or do you really need the nubbly bits to get it to hold, so to speak, without sliding? So this is a piece of dowel. I can't really undo it because this it'll undo my thing. And there's some wood burned markings in the dowel all the way down at different intervals. So you could do that if you wanted to, but basically this is just sanded. And it's nice and lightweight. It's a really nice length for me. It works for my hands. I think you should just try some stuff. I did, as you can see behind me, I did get the distaff finally came for the minstrel. It's unfinished, but it's really nicely sanded. And I'm actually thinking, Mike asked me if I wanted to finish it and if I wanted to put a stain to match the finished wood of the wheel on, and I'm going to finish the arm that comes off. But the distaff, I'm going to try it first without and see. But this has got quite a nice weight to it. It's actually quite heavy. Not heavy, but it's heavier than this. This one's a bit more lightweight. This one's a little bit heavier. But I can see how this would be really lovely to spin off of the wheel. So I'm going to be playing with that too. And it just fits in the holder like that. I have done a sweater quantity on spindles, have never managed to actually knit the sweater though. Okay, Becca, so if I can get the yarn spun, then you support me through the spindle spinning of the sweater, and I'll support you through the knitting of the sweater. How does that sound? I'm working on that right now, spinning all on my supported spindles. That sounds amazing, Diana. I knew that you were working on that from Instagram. That just sounds fantastic. I do not enjoy spindles. You know what, Zan? I didn't either until I came back to them later. It wasn't until I came back to them after I was on the wheel that I really started to appreciate spindles. Perfect, Becca. I'll hold you to it. I'll hit up the hardware store for pneumatic tubing and doweling this week. Awesome, Kelly. That sounds like a plan. Let's talk about some weaving, because I'm watching the time and we always end up way over, which is just awesome. So I finished off my silk sampler this week. So this is my Leclerc Jack loom. It's a 45-inch floor loom. It was given to me because the person that was no longer going to be using it wanted it to go to somebody who was doing some teaching and doing stuff that we do here. So that was really touched me. So these are all of my silk yarns that I have spun. Actually, that's not true. It's not all of them because I ran out of some of them, like my white Erie, and I ran out of my red Erie. I've got Gotland on here. Wants to be friends with all the things. So I'll put on the big camera in just a sec. But basically what I did was I warped this up and I did a gradient warp. So I went across, I started with the darker colors, the Tassar and my yak silk that I had spun. I also spun some, which is for the March content, some merino cashmere nylon. No, merino cashmere silk. And that's that green that you see in there. So we'll be talking about that yarn more next month. And I did a gradient across. So I used the instructions, but not the set from the Radiant towels, which we'll talk about in just a sec. So you can really see here in the fringe that I just took this off this morning, so it's not finished. There's nothing done about it yet. But you can see down here at the bottom how it kind of gradates across. So it goes from the Tassar and the green across to the yak silk Tassar and some Tussa, and then into the white mulberry in the center there, and then all the way across, and it mirrors on the other side. So I set it at 12 ends per inch, and my plan was, as when I started, was to sort of see if it was too loose or too tight, and just to, I would either unweave or just leave a section and then move it out or move it in. But it ended up actually being about right. 12 ends per inch was, and I did 12 picks per inch. So I measured, I kept stopping and checking to make sure that I was weaving 12 picks per inch. It's got a lovely, it has a lovely drape to it. It's got a nice bias. The bias is quite nice. It's not crunchy. It hasn't been finished yet. So it's, it's still a teeny tiny bit firm. But this could be a table runner. It could be a scarf. Yeah. It's lightweight for a scarf. Like, I think it would actually be better as a stole, where you would wear it like, I think I've got it all twisted. You could wear it sort of like that. That's how my mom would wear it. Like, if my mom had this, she would wear it like this, and then she would pin it with a brooch pin. That's probably what my mom would do. Dropped the brooch pin. So it's very subtle, very subtle. And then what happened actually, unfortunately, and I am going to go back and fix this because I have this, I have lots of the yarn, well, not lots, I have some of the yarn left over, but one of the, because these yarns they were high twist, but I think if I were to do this again, I would put even more twist into them. One of the singles caught on the reed, so that it didn't break it. The other singles was fine, but it caused sort of this bunching up of the yarn. So all I need to do is go back and weave through the, I think this was the yak silk. It was a warp thread of yak silk. So I just need to go through and weave in an end of yak silk, and then I can pull this out because you can see it. So yeah, the neat thing about the weft is that it went from mulberry. This is mulberry over here, and that's what I'm weaving with on the video here. And then I had to fade it to Tussa. So I faded it one by one weft. Where did I fade it? In here somewhere from here. I faded it from here to here. So it was one end of the mulberry, one end of the Tussa, all the way through here. And it's funny because of all of the sections of the shawl, this is the section that I like the best. And I kind of wish I had done the whole shawl like that. It's just very subtle. The Tussa is really warm. It's got this lovely warm, it makes the shawl sort of appear quite warm. And whereas the mulberry, because it's white, it's a little bit more stark. But you can see there's a little bit of texture from my spinning, a little bit of interest. But then if you compare this mulberry section, look at the warmth of the tussa. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but it's warmer. It's a little bit more subtle. It's not as stark, and it doesn't mute the colors quite as much. It makes them stand out a bit more, whereas the mulberry mutes them down quite significantly, whereas the tussa creates more of a warmth. So I love that there's that contrast. This was meant to be a sampler. It's not really for anything. It's for to learn from, for us to sort of reflect and to see the fabrics. My original plan actually was to cut this apart and to actually like mount it into like frames, to be like actual like teaching samples. Thank you for bearing with me this morning, you guys. Look at the width of that loom. Yes, it's wonderful. I'm very blessed to have it, Diana. Yay, weaving, says Dorothy. I know we all love weaving so much. Hey, thank you for, yeah, Eve was there when I was filming. I want to weave with my hand spun, but the loom waist gives me pause. You know, Kathy, that's why I always pause. That's why I always am like, do I want to put my hand spun on the loom? And then I'm so happy with it when it comes off. And yes, there's waist. Like if I hold this up here, like there's all of this that was at the front of the loom, and this will probably get trimmed to about here. And then I think I'm going to leave the fringe as live. I don't think I'm going to twist it, but I'll trim it probably to about here. And then the same on the other end, there's this waist, all of this waist here, and I'll probably, I'll trim it to the same length, and then you lose that. I would have woven this a little bit longer, but one of my warp threads actually did break, and I had a knot. And so I wanted to, and I was so close to the end anyways that I cut it off sooner, but I probably could have gone another 2 or 3 inches and ended up with that. And then, you cut that, and then you've got these thrums at the bottom. So, yes, you end up with some waste, but on the other hand, the whole experience of it and just working with your yarns and what you learn from working with your yarns, I think is worth it. But I get the struggle. I really get that. A huge amount, more so than you, more so than you even realize probably. Inspires me to get my loom out. I could do a pseudo warp. I did do a pseudo warp with my, great question, Dorothy. With my red pinwheel towels, and then I swore I would never do it again. You know what? You guys are gonna laugh at me. I don't love winding the warp. But once it's wound, I actually really like threading, and I like slaying the reed. I enjoy the meditative process of that. What I don't like is the hem stitching. I can't stand hem stitching. So could you use the waist to blend? Oh yeah, you could totally use the waist for stuff. Absolutely. I know a lot of people in Guild save the waist and they use it for thrums in mitts. And yeah, you don't have to throw it away or compost it or whatever you want to do with it. You don't have to. You can save it for sure. Yeah, the warm tussa, Greta, it really, man, like I wanted to use the mulberry because that was the whole point of spinning all of that mulberry. So I really wanted to see, but you can really see how that white mutes when you compare it side by side to the tussa. Like it just has such a different feel and such a different look. And you kind of know it in theory, but that's a big difference. And it's wonderful to be able to reflect on it. Yeah. Oh, Diana, hem stitching. I wish we could just like pick up our looms and then we could have like hem stitching parties, but that's not the way that we can do it. I do have a warping mill. Again, I think what part of it is with all these tools is like, I haven't had a chance to spend a lot of time with them, and so I feel like I'm sort of just, still playing around. Yeah, isn't that true, Karma? We should weave as a group. Someone can warp the loom. Someone can do the hem stitching. I really enjoy hem stitching, but I enjoy hand sewing. You know what? It's funny that you would say that because my mom loves hand stitching, and I've often thought that I should teach her how to hem stitch because she would love it. But the problem is she's not very fast, so it would take a long time. I say that with love. The other thing that I have been working on, let's just go back here for just a moment. I have been working on these. So these are not hand spun. This is 2/8 cotton. This is the warp chain. These are the radiant towels. These are the actual towel pattern that I based my silk sampler off of. So this was a towel pattern that Felicia wrote up and that you can get off of the School of Sweet Georgia. And basically they gradate from navy blue and bright blue across to magenta in the middle. I don't normally work with these colors. These are not my colors at all. However, one of my closest friends, these are her colors. And so, and Nora's teacher at school will often wear these bright blues. And so I thought I'm just going to follow the pattern. I'm going to follow the gradient that's close to the one that Felicia made in her pattern. They're not very big. They're not super, super wide. I think if I were to make these again as tea towels, I would widen them out a little bit and just do extra. I would just make wider. The warp chains, there's 7 warp chains. I didn't do 7. I only did 2, but for a beginning weaver, she really walks you through like how to make the warp chains and going across. I think I would just make my warp chains wider. So instead of 18 ends, I would do like 24 ends kind of thing, which I think is would be sort of the difference. So they'll only fold in half. They won't fold in thirds, which I really like, but that's okay. The selvages are coming out really nicely, so they'll look nice folded in half. I don't know how many I'll have. I'm hoping that I'll have 6, because then I can have 2 for my friend Paula and then 2 for each of the kids' teachers for June. So that's kind of my plan. And then I would like to actually warp up the loom again with the same pattern but different colors and have a couple more sort of put away for gifts. That's kind of what I'm hoping. So I'm really enjoying this. It's on my LeClaire Compact, which is a 24-inch loom. And it's been perfect for working on in the evenings. And all I've been doing is 1 bobbin a night. So they're actually going really super quick. I think I'm down to the last 1 or 2 bobbins. I think I'm almost done. So yeah, they are totally Felicia's colors. So for once I am trying to be mindful first, but weaving is a tempting next craft. Do it. Do it, Mars. It's so wonderful. Although, you know, I started off on the rigid heddle, and I actually sometimes kind of miss the fact that I don't have it anymore, because getting the rigid heddle warped up and getting it done was a lot. It was faster, you know. To get a warp onto the floor looms is a little bit more time consuming for sure. So yeah, any community activity sounds wonderful right now. Oh my gosh, Karma, you just knocked it on the head. Yeah, weaving is so satisfying to use up stuff that you have no other use for. Isn't that true, Kelly? It's funny actually because it is a slippery slope, Diana. You're absolutely right. It's a great way to use up all the hand spun. I have a bag of hand spun ends that from over the years, and I actually have thought about laying them out and putting them into some sort of a gradient or rainbow or something, even if it means there's only like 1 end for some of the colors, because that's all, you know, maybe a 3-yard warp would do. And throwing it onto my compact and just weaving it up and just doing like a 24-inch, no, I was going to throw it onto my floor loom because I wanted like a 45-inch wide blanket that was like maybe, you know, 45 inches by about 60 inches, sort of a lap blanket size, and just using up all of my ends. And I have so much of that kind of stuff. It would just be a perfect way to get some of that stuff used up, but in a way that I felt like was valuable, that I would use and that I would like. So definitely stuff that I am thinking about. I wanted to share with you guys some of my spinning, but I'm looking at the time, and we have spent a lot of time today talking about weaving, which is wonderful. We don't do it enough. So let's go into community participation, and I will save the spinning at my wheels for next time. I'll do some photos. I've got a fin and silk spin in progress, which is also the giveaway for January. And I also have a Romney spin, another one that I've been working on and I wanted to talk about quickly. So let's save it for next week and we'll go into a whole bunch of detail about those two projects. Maybe I'll actually have some finished yarn to share with you. We will see. But I will do some video for you guys to show you spinning at the wheel. I also was wondering if somebody could give me some feedback. So maybe if there's nobody in the chat right now, but like over the next couple of weeks, if you could comment on YouTube or comment on Slack or like tag me, whatever. Has anybody on the Leclerc Compact, has anybody upgraded to 8 heddles? I just would really like to hear what that was like and whether or not having those extra 4 heddles made a big difference, because I can't upgrade my floor loom. It's 4 shaft. It'll always be 4 shaft. That's it. It's a jack loom. It's the Leclerc Nihilus jack, 45-inch jack. They still make it. You can still buy it. But the Leclerc can be upgraded to an 8 shaft. And I'm thinking about doing that. So you can go up to an 8 shaft with 10 treadles. So I would love to hear any thoughts about that, if anybody's done that on their compact and what it gave you. I know it gives you a lot more patterns, and that's kind of what I would like to be able to do, is just sort of a little bit more. The other thing that I was wondering is, has anybody changed their wire heddles over to TechSolve and what that was like? Because I found on the Jane, on the Louette Jane, I found it a lot easier to thread the TechSolve heddles. It just went faster, but maybe I'm just not remembering it properly. So I would love to hear from you guys. I just have those couple of questions. So let's go into community participation. For January, tell us about your most recent spin. So you can either share it in the episode thread on Ravelry. And here is the link. I'll throw it into the live chat, and it's also available in the show notes, which are linked below. Or you can just comment here on YouTube for those who are not on Ravelry. So not in the live chat, you need to comment in the comment section. Tell us what you're working on. So Kelly was sharing some stuff and I wanted to share with you. She has been doing some dyeing. So this is from Kelly. She's in the chat right now. She has a little peek at some of her natural dyeing lately. These are her mill spun Cheviot skeins that she got back at the end of last year. The yellow is marigold. It's going to go in indigo, so that isn't its final color, which is too bad because I love that color. The middle is marigold and madder, and the red, which she couldn't quite get, it's more of a brick in real life, is madder. And kutch. The marigold and madder one, oh, and then she goes into what the different types are. But it reminded her of the colors that Rebecca has been spinning recently. So you guys saw the Zero to Hero that Rebecca's been spinning that we shared last time. Kelly said these colors reminded her of what Rebecca was working on, which is awesome. Yeah, I've talked to Dorothy about why Felicia did that, because the baby wolf that she has, it's in I think it's going to the studio, but it was in there in a part of their house where it was quite loud for the kids and for her to weave at night, and the clinking of the wire heddles. Her and I've talked off the record about the change and what was some of the things that she was saying. The TechSolve ones are quite a bit quieter, but she also finds that it's changed the weaving experience a little tiny bit. So I would just love to hear from everybody. Yeah, what everybody thinks, because I know what Felicia thinks. I know she would say to go ahead and do it. This is from Caitlin. She is sharing about her Shetland study. So we're just starting our Shetland study. Here is my spinner's control card. I'm going to do a 3-ply fractal. I've got my oatmeal all set up, and I've got my my white Shetland all ready to go. So Caitlin's been spinning away. She hasn't spun Shetland before, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about the breed, but I'm looking forward to learning more. My instinct with colors is to split each braid into color chunks and spin those as 3 plies, 1 ply each for the different bases. So that would be like one of the white, one of the gray, and one of the Mouret. But sticking with the color. She'll probably split black, blue, and purple, and then orange, red, and natural. She did that recently with a braid that had similar colors, and she was thrilled with the results. Yeah, Caitlin, that yarn is gorgeous. I would love to know what you're going to do with it, because I just love how the colors came out. It's just beautiful. Yeah. Kelly, don't worry about the marigold. There's other marigold happening. That's awesome. Those colors are divine, that yarn. Yeah, Kelly's yarn is amazing. That marigold is amazing. Marigold is such a great dye plant that I feel it gets overlooked a lot because it's not overly exotic, but that's one of the things I love about it, because anybody can grow it. That's so true, Kelly. Nicole. I just love this. Nicole shares about her Shetland study. She absolutely loves Shetland, and this will be her first time participating in Breed and Color study. So welcome, Nicole, to the study. I know you've been in our community for a long time. I was able to order a half set from Katrina, and she is so excited. She decided she wanted to do some larger projects. So here are some plans so far. She has 100 grams of all 3 natural colors, and she also kettle dyed 100 grams of each color with similar colors that Katrina dyed. She's going to do a combo spin of some sort, and she's thinking sweaters, but not sure which ones. That sounds very exciting. Sounds fantastic, Nicole. I'm so excited that people are so excited about this. One of our other alongs that we have in our community is our Natural Shades along. So this is an opportunity to celebrate natural colors of wool, and many of us love working with the natural shades just in general. Many of us work with fleeces. That's actually what Greta and I were talking about last night. Unfortunately, Greta Lynn had to say goodnight, but she you know, many of us work from fleeces, and that's actually what we were talking about. So this was sort of an opportunity to celebrate those natural shades. Not all of us are dyers. Not all of us want to be. So it's just a really great opportunity to come together and celebrate those natural colors of natural fibers, whether it's cotton or wool or anything else, flax. So Hannah shares, love this. She wanted to share her latest sweater spin. She got some wool from the Norwegian sheep breed. I'm going to just absolutely butcher this, so just bear with me. Gra Tronder. You guys can help me. For Christmas, she started spinning with drop spindles over the winter break, and then she plied it on her wheel. She got 890 meters from 300 grams of wool. That's just fantastic, Hannah. And a Lofty Warm 2-ply DK weight yarn. She knit the Albini, which was inspired by mine. I love this sweater so much. I saw it laying there in the snow, and I just thought, oh, Hannah. So beautiful, beautiful job. Thank you so much for sharing, and I love, love, love the results. Those buttons are absolutely perfect. That is a lovely sweater pattern. It is. It's fantastic, Diana. It would look amazing on you. Marigold is a winner. You're right, Mars. Fast spinning on spindles. Jackie, that's what I thought. I was like, holy smokes, Nicole, Hannah, what were you doing? You were probably just spinning. That's awesome. This is from Kaylee. She finally took time to measure her Romney sweater spin. She has a total of 1,020 yards and 550 grams. That's amazing, Kaylee. Well done. She was planning on a sport weight yarn, but it's more like a DK. So she was hoping to make the pink fizz, but she needs to swatch to see how far her gauge will be off. She should have taken very detailed notes during her test spin because it was perfect for the pattern. Either way, the shine makes her very happy. Also learned that cross-lacing my flyer makes a huge difference with how evenly the yarn fills the bobbins, and it's not just for lace spinning. Absolutely, Kaylee. Good job. Beautiful yarn. I love this color. This color, my favorite. That kind of like gray, oatmeal-y, brown, warm, creamy. Oh, it's perfect. And it's Romney, so even better. This last share is from Cheryl. And there was a whole bunch of sharing this morning actually on the Slack channel that I'm excited to share with you guys next week. And Kelly, who's it? I think she was not Kelly in Edmonton, but our other friend Kelly. I think she was in the chat. At least she was earlier. She had done some mittens from her Breed and Color study that I wanted to share with you guys, and I didn't get them loaded, so I'll share those with you because I think it was her daughter that had asked her for mittens out of her Charolais spin. So this is from Cheryl. She's very new to spinning, having really only spun 2 skeins of yarn for actual knitting, but she's always inspired, and so she thought she would join this thread, so the Zero to Hero 2021 and the Natural Shades along. and that would push her to spin more in 2021. She wants to make an Outlander inspired shawl with hand spun. So she's thinking of the Hedge Witch shawl. It's a worsted weight yarn and she wants to make a woolen spun yarn. Thought that would go with the Outlander theme. She's still too chicken to use her growing collection of hand dyed braids, so she's going to use commercial top, some Ashford Corriedale sliver. Will be braver and use those precious braids in my next spin. This week I've been sampling and practicing supported long draw. She's spinning straight from the commercial top. She's pretty happy with what she's got with this first sampling of the natural dark colorway and may just continue with that. Maybe aim for a tad finer spin as the sample was a bit heavy. Erin at 8 to 9 wraps per inch. She's aiming closer to 10 to 11 wraps per inch. This will be a contrast yarn for the shawl, and for the main yarn, she's planning for a natural medium color. This one, she's thinking of Rolex for a true woolen spin, and she might try throwing in some color bits on the drum carder for a Tweedy yarn just for fun. That sounds fantastic. Cheryl, you should totally do that. When you're spinning long draw from commercial top, it's not super easy because the commercial top is combed. So it does tend to make denser yarn. You could try, if you wanted to do a bit more sampling, you could try ripping off, I don't have any right here to show you. I can take a little bit of this. You can try taking some of that comb top and taking it off like that, taking sort of like a staple and just folding it over and spinning long draw like that from your, and going staple by staple down your comb top. You might find as you're practicing that it's kind of like a way of making a woolen prep without actually having a woolen prep. That just to give you some options if you wanted to. Yeah. When in Scotland shawl. I love my Hedge Witch. Be patient with yourself and the stitch pattern. Good to know, Mars. Get the Unbraided book. It gives so much confidence for breaking up hand-dyed braids. Thank you, Kelly. That's the book that me and Katrina wrote a couple of years ago. Can you guys believe it's been a couple of years now that we wrote that book? Unbelievable. It feels like yesterday, to be totally honest. It really does. I actually have the Yarn and Texture book sitting here for a reason. Greta Lynn and I got into a whole conversation yesterday about the Dye Goddess pullover. I feel a bit obsessed, you guys. This is the whole sinking my teeth into something thing, and I don't know if I want it to be this or something else. But it's this pattern here. I love this photo so much. It's this gorgeous sweater pattern here. It's a pullover, and you can actually really see it on this page. But this is the back of the sweater, but this is the fabric. Isn't that fantastic? So the fabric is slub yarn, and you spin a core yarn, and you put quite a bit more twist in it than you normally would, and then you spiral ply it with a slub yarn, and you get this really ompin crazy fabric. Greta Lynn made this sweater. She did it in a gorgeous salmon color, and she actually used the fiber called for. So she actually bought the fiber that's called for in the pattern. So I really want to make the yarn, and I just kind of want to play with it. I don't know if I want this to be my next big project that I quote unquote sink my teeth into, but that's why the book was sitting there the whole time. It's because I've been looking at the yarn and kind of contemplating it in my head. I don't really have enough in my stash of any one thing. So Greta Lynn and I were saying, she's at the Warmest Rose on Ravelry and Slack. We were talking about the need for a sweater like that. It really needs to be semi-solid or tonal. So it's funny, Kelly, that you had mentioned about the book, because when you're looking through those yarns in Unbraided, this is when we start to think about, now we've got yarn structure, we've got a garment that we want to wear, and we've got texture in the yarn itself rather than in superimposing texture from a knitting pattern like a cable or a lace. We have it superimposed on us from the yarn itself. And so how do we manage color to not take away from that texture, inherent knitted texture from that yarn that we're making? And so we were talking about, like, you know, you'd really need to, unless you don't mind that really crazy color and mind that really like sort of assault on your senses, if you will. Like for some people, that just makes them insanely happy. But for myself and my personal aesthetic, I think I would want something that was sort of overall quite homogeneous and really kind of, one color. Because the core yarn that's called for in the book, if you wanted to do everything exactly how it's done in the book and mimic every single step, the core yarn is a 50-50 merino silk. And then the thick and thin is a 100% merino. So one of the things that Greta said when she made it, I think she's the only one on Ravelry that's made it. Like when you look under projects for the Dye Goddess pullover, I think she's the only one. She was saying that some of her slubs came out a little bit too big. And she said you really, like slightly smaller slubs works really, really well. So yeah, I kind of want to play with this a little bit and sort of see. I might do some swatching and just kind of play, but I don't really have enough fiber that's matching between two different bases of fiber that would work well together, because you kind of want, like if you look at the top that she used down there in the corner, you see how you've got that gorgeous, she calls it Gween, and then the other colorway, there's Gween is this merino silk, and this one is Canapali. I don't really know how to say that. Canapali. But you see you've got those blues and those greens, and of course they match. They go together. They're both Lisa Souza. So I need to think some more. I need semi-solid. I need an analogous colorway that's semi-solid. Would this slubs pill? Yes. Slubby and gray all day. I love that, Mars. Yeah, so that was actually part of what Greta Lynn and I were talking about, actually, was the fact that she has found that that sweater is pilling. So Rachel is the only one who doesn't know if she's about to tackle that sweater as her next big project. She's been mulling it for several weeks. It's so true, Pat. I wanted to make that yarn since I bought that book a few years ago. Love the slubby look. Oh, absolutely, Judy. If you decide to make it, let me know. After last week's show, I ordered that book. It's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty great, Kathy. Yeah. Yeah, amazing fabric. I just need the fiber, to be honest. Like I just don't have enough like comb top to do it. Greenwood is dyeing semi-solid now and would go well with her other braids. Oh, that's good to know, Jackie. I don't need any more fiber. So you guys, I asked you earlier what I'm doing today. What I'm doing is cataloging my stash. So I'm going to pull it all out. I'm going to put it all in the family room on the floor, and I'm going to write it all down what I have. And create a big Word document. So that's actually what I'm going to work on. Just something really quiet and just catalog it all. So I'm going to let you guys go because it is almost 10 o'clock and I've kept you for almost an hour and a half, and we could sit here all day, let's be honest. Don't forget to enter the giveaway for this month, either on the Ravelry group or here on YouTube. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We've got quite a quiet week happening here. For patrons of the community, on February 1st, you are going to see a Patreon post that will go up about Maker Mornings. We've hit another milestone, which is just unbelievable. This community just keeps growing, and you guys are so incredible. That post will go live on February 1st. Before you go to the Sign Up Genius, please read the entire post. Once you've read it, when it goes live again 3 months later, you won't need to read it all because you'll know what to expect. But I need you guys to read the first one. So please read the whole post all the way through. I will not be posting a link on the Slack channel. It will only go live on Patreon. So if you don't get email notifications about when posts get published on Patreon, please make sure that you update your account, because we need to make sure that everybody in the community has access to being able to participate in the Maker Mornings. So you can sign up for one spot over the course of the 3 months, and it's really well laid out in the post why, like what we're doing and what to expect with the Maker Mornings. Anybody who attended in December to one of the two or both know what I'm talking about and what the format was like. So as you're reading through, it'll make sense. But please read it from top to bottom, and then head over to the sign up, and you can sign up for one of the spots. So have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you guys have just a really great week. And I will talk to you next week, same time, same place. And I hope you have just a lot of downtime, that you're able to really do your stuff and do your making and have that creative space. So happy spinning, happy knitting, happy dreaming. Bye, you guys.